Seriously, you gotta just pound on a light? Welcome to Six's Overdrive today. Today is an exciting day because we are gonna finally ride here in Canada. It's been a long time coming. The Honda CB1000R, gorgeous looking bike, really gorgeous looking bike. But it's a little bit weighty and a little bit down in power as I can see in the specs. How is that gonna fare out? Anyway, my buddy John phoned me and said, why don't you come down and test this thing out? Because I really think that your viewers are going to want to take a look at this bike up close. And so he asked me to do a review on the bike. I'm not getting paid to do this, so it's going to be an unbiased review. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to give you a side-by-side comparison a little bit, at least by the seat of the pants feeling here. I'm not going to mess around with too many of these stats. So anyway, it's time to get my jacket on. My helmet on. And my backpack, and we're gonna go for a ride. Alright guys, well I've been waiting all week long to do this review because the weather has been really crappy here lately, and today is supposed to be plus 23s, but as you can see it's starting to look cloudy already, so we better get down there and try this new motorcycle out, because if we don't, I'm going to be pretty upset with myself for leaving it to the last moment again. The first thing I want to do with this bike is I want to take it to this neighborhood that I know of that it's just back and forth turns, little chicanes all the way through, and I'm going to just test the difference. Both of these seating positions are the same. They're both on the high side. The CB1000R has a high seat, and so does this one. They're both almost identical for seat heights. Really stretched out, better for bigger guys with long legs, which I'm not. But anyways, that's the type of bike I got. So we're going to hit these little twisty roads and see what these bikes feel like back to back. That's the most important test because it tells you whether or not they put the weight up high or down low. Because I think there's a good 30 pounds between these two bikes. Well, I'm well aware of what the XSR 900 can do. It handles this type of stuff in its sleep. The thing turns in so light. It's got wide handlebars, and it's very much a sit back a little bit type of bike. Whereas the CB, I'm pretty sure is going to be a lot more forward by my little time sitting on it and just looking at it in the showroom. It's going to be a lot more sport bike oriented. So that was what that one looked like. Well, she's running, boys and girls. Let's see how she does. The bike does not seem to take off the same way down low, but that's common for a four-cylinder. Remember, I just got off the XSR 900, which has got stump pulling torque down below. Now we switched from a 3-cylinder to a 4-cylinder, so it's bound to be a little softer off the bottom end. We'll have to see what it's like on the top end out on the highway. I don't want to go too fast on this one, guys, because the tires haven't been scrubbed. Okay, there it goes, guys, about 8,000 RPM, same as the Z900 and the Z900RS. That reach is really far. I think some of the taller, bigger riders, anybody over 6 feet tall, is really going to enjoy this bike. It's almost a little bit too long for me. The main reason why I wanted to review this bike was because it is in a whole different price category on its own. The only bike that is close in price to this one is the Z1000, but you're talking about high-end components on that one. So on that one, you're getting the Brembo brakes and the Olin shocks, and the suspension is fully tunable, and there's a lot of extra and performance features in that one. They both weigh about the same, but the Z1000 has quite a bit more horsepower, like a good 20% more horsepower. And as I'm driving this one along, we haven't got to open this one up, but the Z1000 is definitely more responsive just around town. Now, don't get me wrong, this has plenty of power right now, but it's just not that, it just doesn't have the same get up and go until you hit 8,000 RPM. You can really feel a pull. That's typical of a 4-cylinder. Vibration-wise, it's very similar to the other bikes. Nice and smooth down low when you're bombing around town, but as soon as you get up into the high revs where the power starts to hit, you start to feel the tingling in your toes and balls. Plenty of power, and you knew there would be. In this class, unless you're on a racetrack, you're not going to notice even that extra 20-30%. Might feel a little snappier down low, but you're not going to notice it. Once it gets up along the high horsepower, it's going to be very usable. This one is not the type of bike that's just going to wheelie uncontrollably. You're going to have to coax it out with a clutch or something like that, or give it a good pull in the low ranges, because it just does not have the stump pulling power down low. This bike, once you get onto the high droning highway miles, it's very comfortable, way more comfortable than the Z900 or the XSR 900, and it is a little bit smoother than the Z1000R, just because that one has such stiff suspension on it. This one is very livable down the highway. I hit a big bump like that and it's nice and soft. It almost has a almost too soft feeling, but a real refined suspension system in this one that feels very nice. You could easily rack up the miles on this. The seat feels just about right now. Of course, I won't be able to ride it long enough for us to get a real test, because we need to put on 150K in one sitting before I tell you if this thing really hurts the butt or not. Anybody who tells you different on these bikes is just guessing. Unless you put on a good day's worth of riding, 500-600K, that's where you're going to notice if the seat is too hard or too soft. Alright, we're going to take this thing off the line and just show you guys what I mean. You don't even need the traction control and everything because of the 4-cylinder for power off the line. Here we go. See how it kind of dogs out there? Well, I had my visor open a bit, just the sun visor down, and I just got a big wasp right in my helmet, and I could see the thing floating around. I couldn't get my helmet off. He was stunned. Whew. Got lucky. I just got one of those wasp bites last week. So before we go back home and tell you all the specs and how it compares to everything else, I'm just going to give you the seat of my pants impression here of what this bike is like. Very low power down low. And then it just screams above 8,000 RPM. And that's where you can do a clutchless wheelie. If you wait till that 6, 7, 8,000 RPM, you'll be able to, the front wheel will come up. All you have to do is lean back a little bit and it'll just come right up. I would compare it a little bit to the RS version of the Z900 as far as the power plant goes, where it's just so smooth and buttery. And a lot of people like that. Like, a lot of people don't like to mess with their throttle modes because the bike is twitchy and all that. And that's what this bike delivers. You've got Honda reliability. You've got a beautiful single-sided swing arm. That's something you don't get until you get into Triumphs and Ducatis. So yes, it is a little more expensive. Yes, it is heavy, but not much heavier than the Yamaha and the Z1000 Kawasaki, but quite a bit heavier than some of the other bikes. The traction modes I didn't even get into, guys. I was going to give you a whole rundown of the traction modes, but with that kind of slow pickup at the start, you're not going to need these traction modes unless you're out on the track. It's the thing about this bike. Why would you buy this bike over the other ones is if it's heavier, more expensive, and all of that? Why would you buy it? Well, I'll tell you why. It's because the fit and finish and the quality work behind this bike. The little touches are gorgeous all over the place. Single-sided swing arms, no wires down here or anything. Gorgeous, gorgeous layout of the dash and everything like that. That's a high-end dash, rivaling almost a Ducati. The details everywhere on this bike are so nice. Like, it's kind of like comparing cruisers. When you're comparing a Harley Davidson to a Japanese bike. Japanese bike has the wires hanging out all over. Some of the chrome looks kind of tinny, that kind of thing. This Honda, compared to those other Japanese bikes, the Yamaha MT-10 and the Z1000, it makes them look a little bit plain. I'm going to be honest with you. How does it compare to my bike? Well, it's different, right? My bike's visceral and it's got power down low and everything like that, but it's twitchy and it's scary for some people. It does not handle the corners as good. It doesn't handle the bumps as good. You know, although they went to a lot of lengths to make kind of a neat bike, Yamaha did with the XSR 900, they didn't put the fit and finish into that bike that they have into this bike. This bike is also for tall riders, short riders like myself. It's comfortable enough, but you're reaching on the handlebars. My elbows are straight out. That's not a perfect riding triangle for me, but I would suggest anybody over 6 feet tall that this is going to be your most comfortable bed out of all of them. Well, I just got back from my review and I wanted to point something out. I thought I was taking it easy because I wanted to scrub the tires, and when I was going through those corners, I ended up getting way past. I got no chicken strip here at all. I leaned that thing right over and it felt just like butter. It didn't even feel like I was pushing it at all. That's pretty incredible for first time on a bike and brand new tires and everything. I honestly didn't think I was even close to getting to the... I thought I'd have a half-inch chicken strip after all that. Well, I'm back, guys, and I've had a little bit of time to think it over, and I've got to look at some of the images and videos that I took on the computer. And I'm here to tell you about the CB1000 one day after my initial seat of the pants ride here. First of all, I want to apologize. No, apologize is the wrong word. Let me just say my office is the way it is because it's the way I am. I tried a lot to get my office looking like a Sam Shepard or a Casey Neistat or Peter McKinnon type thing with the beautiful backgrounds and the backlight and everything like that. But you know what? I honestly just gave up, and this is my office. Everything's getting charged behind me. I got printers back there for my work, and that's the way it's going to be, guys. So I hope you don't mind that, but that's the way that Six's Overdrive is going to operate from now on. My life's a mess, so you get to come along for the mess. So let me be brutally honest about this CB1000R. I'm going to give it to you straight. A lot of the reviewers are out there saying their things about it, but you're going to hear Six's Overdrive's opinion here right now. First of all, this bike is not for me. That's not to say it's not a great bike, because it is a great bike. But I'm going to tell you some of the reasons that it's not for me. Number one is size. This bike, it's big for me. I'm reaching out like this on it, and my seat, it feels like the seat is like 2 feet long. It's just got so much room, and I'm such a small guy. I'm only 5'8" with a 30-inch inseam, and this bike is just a little bit big for me. The power in the engine is not for me. It really screams up high, and it really gets going fast once it gets going. And I really like my power down low because I do a lot of my riding in town and at low speeds. Up above, it's going to keep up with anything, but down below it just doesn't give that oomph that I really like to have. Number three would be the price, and it's in the same price categories, within hundreds of dollars, of the Z1000R, which I understand most of you guys in the United States don't even get. And the MT10 is actually more expensive than it. But they're in the $15,000 category, and my bike is in the $11,000 category. And I put on about 20,000 kilometers per year on my motorcycle, so it depreciates fast. And the higher the price the bike, chances are the more depreciation I'm going to pay. So the price isn't for me, but believe me, I'm going to get into this a little bit later. This bike has a lot going for it for the price. Now, who would the bike be for then? Who is it for? Well, first of all, it's for a taller rider. 6-foot guys are going to appreciate this bike. The only place where I felt it more cramped in my XSR 900, which is another one of the bigger choices in this category, would be in the seat to foot peg ratio. It's got a little bit higher foot pegs, but you know, if you don't want to scrape pegs ever, that's a good thing, right? The other bikes are faster, better brakes, stuff like that, but they don't have the same quality. So if you're one of these guys that always wanted a Ducati or something like that, a little bit exotic, a little bit, you know, like the etchings on the engine and no wires anywhere. Like, let me show you something here, guys. Look at all these wires all over the place on my bike. That's what I'm talking about, fit and finish. Like, there's so few wires. Like, when you compare my bike to that bike and how the wires look on it, it's night and day. There's nothing there. It's like a Harley Davidson with the cruisers compared to Japanese cruisers, where they tuck all the wires into the handlebars and frames and everything on the Harleys. It's the same thing. It's got a lot of detail, and that single-sided swing arm is just gorgeous. I've tossed that can out right away. No way am I keeping that exhaust when I've got a beautiful single-sided swing arm like that rivals like a Ducati swing arm. Tail lights, headlights, LED signal lights, the stitching in the seats, everything on this bike is way nicer than it is on the competition. And that's why the price is where it is, because it's definitely not in the power department. So I think if you're really, you know, if you're a taller rider and you want a lot of quality and you want a lot into your bike, this is the bike for you. You don't need the extra power unless you're going out to the track, is the only place you're going to really notice a difference. For style, and in my mind, this one beats all of them out for style. This is a great bike. You can't lose out on this. $14,900 in Canada, plus freight and prep, plus taxes. So you should be rolling out the door all in for $16,000. It is a good bike. They've really outdone the class. They slaughtered their entry into the quality department in this thing. Like, it is a beautiful looking bike up close. You start to really see the details when you start to look at the bike close. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to say thank you to John. He's great. He called me up about this bike, said it's finally in. He knew I was waiting for it, and he just let me drive it and go shoot it and film it and everything. It's really nice for the dealerships to do that, so that you guys can. If you're in the Lloydminster area and you want a great dealership and a good guy to deal with, go see John down at Lloydminster Honda, and Chris, the guy that wheeled it out for me. Like I said, this is an unpaid interview. He lets me say whatever I want about it. You know, if I was being paid, I might not be able to tell you about the low-end power deficiency down low, but he's all about that. So all about being honest about the bikes and getting you into a bike that you like. So guys, I'd like to thank him. I'd also like to thank you guys for watching, and I'd like to remind you to share, like, comment, and subscribe to my channel so I can keep going on these videos. But until next time, that's all I got for you. This is Sixes Overdrive, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye.